The crash in the woods. Jack Carter lived alone in a small wooden cabin, deep inside Pine Valley Forest. He worked as a forest warden. His job was to walk the trails, fix broken fences, and make sure no one started fires. He liked the quiet. The trees did not talk. The animals did not lie. Life was simple. That night, the sky was clear, and the moon was full. Jack sat outside his cabin, drinking hot coffee. It was cold, and he wore a thick green jacket. His old dog, Max, sat beside him. Suddenly, something bright flashed in the sky. It looked like a shooting star, but it was too big, too close. The object made a loud whooshing sound as it passed overhead. It left a blue trail behind it and crashed into the forest with a loud boom. The ground shook. Birds flew out of the trees. Max barked loudly and ran inside the cabin. Jack stood up quickly, eyes wide. That wasn't a meteor. He grabbed his flashlight, put on his boots, and ran toward the smoke rising from the trees. As he got closer, he saw broken branches and a large path of burned leaves. Something had landed or crashed hard. The air smelled like metal and fire. His flashlight flickered, but he kept moving. Then he saw it. A silver object, shaped like an egg, was stuck between trees. It was smooth, shiny, and looked nothing like any aircraft Jack had ever seen. It was about the size of a car, and parts of it were still glowing with heat. The metal surface hissed. Small blue lights blinked. There was a long crack down one side. Suddenly, part of the object opened. A hatch slowly lifted with a soft hiss. Steam came out from inside. Jack stepped back, heart pounding. What was this thing? Then, he heard something. A soft sound, like crying. He pointed his flashlight inside. His hands froze. A small figure was curled up inside the pod. A child, maybe 8 years old. She had silver blue skin and large, glowing purple eyes. Her hair was white and floated like smoke. She wore a thin suit, torn and burnt in places. The girl looked up at him. Her eyes were full of fear. Jack slowly crouched. He spoke gently. "Hey, it's okay. I'm not here to hurt you." The girl didn't answer. She hugged her knees and backed away deeper into the pod. Jack saw that she was shaking. Her lips were blue. She looked cold and weak. He took off his jacket and held it out. "Here, take this. You'll freeze out here." Still no words. But after a moment, the girl slowly reached out and took the jacket. She wrapped herself in it. Her fingers were long and thin. She looked so fragile. Jack looked around. No sign of anyone else. No rescue. No sounds. Just the wind blowing through the trees. He couldn't just leave her there. "Come on," he said softly. "Let's get you out of this thing." Carefully, he reached in and picked her up. She was light, too light. She didn't fight. She just rested her head on his shoulder, eyes half closed. Jack carried her through the woods, flashlight in one hand, girl in the other. But as they walked away, something moved high in the trees. A small drone, no bigger than a bird, hovered silently. A red light blinked once, and then it flew off into the darkness. Back at the cabin, Jack placed the girl on his couch. Max sniffed her and backed away, unsure. Jack gave her a blanket, warm soup, and sat nearby. She didn't eat, just stared at the fire. Jack tried to ask questions, but she didn't speak. Not in English. Not in any language he knew. He noticed her skin slowly changing color, going from pale silver to a soft pink, like it was reacting to warmth. "Who are you?" he whispered. No answer. "Where did you come from?" Still silence. He sighed. "You're safe now. I promise." The girl looked at him with sad eyes, then closed them and slowly fell asleep. Jack sat back, confused and worried. This wasn't just some lost kid. This was something different. Maybe not even from this world. He didn't call the police. He didn't trust what they'd do. He'd wait, watch, try to understand. But far above the earth, in cold, empty space, something had received the signal. And it was coming. Jack Carter woke early the next morning. The forest was quiet again, but something inside the cabin had changed. He turned his head slowly toward the couch. She was still there, the alien girl, wrapped in his old blanket, sleeping peacefully, her silver blue skin now soft pink. The glow in her eyes was gone for now. She looked normal, almost like a human child, just different. Jack moved quietly, trying not to wake her. He made coffee, toasted bread, and poured a small bowl of warm milk. Then, something strange happened. The radio on the shelf crackled. It wasn't even turned on. A soft, buzzing noise filled the room. The lights flickered. Max, Jack's old dog, barked once and hid under the table. Jack looked at the girl. She was now sitting up. Her eyes glowed again just for a second. The buzzing stopped. The lights came back. The radio went quiet. Jack blinked. What was that? The girl stared at him with a calm, serious face. She didn't speak. Not a word. Jack gently pushed the bowl toward her. Are you hungry? She looked down at the milk, then back at him. Slowly, she took the bowl and drank. Jack smiled a little. Okay, that's a good start. Over the next few days, Jack tried to understand who she was. He couldn't keep calling her the girl, so he gave her a name. Nova, he said. That's what I'll call you. She didn't argue. She didn't smile. But something in her eyes changed, like she accepted it. He showed her how to use a spoon, how to open doors, and how to wear shoes. She learned fast. Too fast. She watched everything with sharp eyes. When she saw Jack fix a broken chair, she copied him the next day and fixed a stool with just a few tools. Jack was amazed. Smart kid, he whispered. But he noticed other strange things. One night, Jack left his phone on the table. Nova touched it by mistake. The screen glitched. All the apps moved by themselves. The phone turned off and never turned back on. The next day, a flock of birds landed outside Jack's window. Dozens of them. They didn't move, just stared at the cabin. When Jack stepped outside, they flew away. And once, when Max barked too much, Nova looked at him, and he suddenly went quiet, as if hypnotized. Jack kept these things to himself. He didn't want to scare her. Maybe she didn't even know what she was doing. She still hadn't spoken. Not one word. But at night, when she thought he was asleep, Jack could hear her whisper. Not in English. In some strange, beautiful language. Like a song from the stars. A week passed. Jack went into town to get supplies. He left Nova with Max. He told her to stay inside and not open the door. When he came back, something was wrong. The cabin door was open. Jack rushed inside. Nova! She was sitting at the table. Max was asleep beside her. Jack looked around. Nothing was stolen. Nothing broken. But Nova looked scared. She pointed to the window. Jack ran over and saw footprints. Human. Big ones. Fresh. Someone had been watching the cabin. He closed the door and locked it tight. That night, Jack sat beside the fireplace. Nova sat across from him, hugging her knees. He spoke softly. I don't know where you came from, Nova, but I think someone is looking for you. She didn't answer. But this time, she looked at him with tears in her eyes. And then, finally, she spoke. One word. Danger. Her voice was soft. Almost a whisper, but clear. Jack's heart sank. Danger to you? Or to me? She shook her head. Then she pointed up, toward the sky. Coming, she said. Jack understood. Something or someone was coming. And Nova was not just lost. She was being hunted. That night, Jack sat awake with his rifle near the window. Outside, the forest was dark, quiet, but he knew the peace wouldn't last. Nova lay asleep, glowing softly under the blanket. She looked like a child, but she was something more, and whatever she was hiding was just beginning. 3 days passed since Nova had spoken her first words. Danger. Coming. Jack Carter didn't sleep much after that. Every night, he sat with his old rifle near the window. He watched the trees, the shadows, the sky. He had no idea what was coming. But he believed her. Nova had changed too. She was still quiet, still strange. But her eyes were sharper now. She watched everything, listened to every sound. And sometimes, she would stand outside at night, just staring at the stars. The men in black coats. That morning, Jack drove into town again. just to grab more food and fuel. He parked his truck near the general store. Nothing felt different at first. But then he noticed a black van parked down the street. It didn't belong there. This town was small. Everyone knew everyone. Two men stood near the van. Both wore long black coats. Sunglasses. Too clean, too serious. Not locals. Jack's stomach turned. He grabbed his supplies quickly and walked past them. The men didn't move, but he felt their eyes follow him. Inside the store, Mrs. Haynes at the counter whispered, "Those government types showed up yesterday, asking about a meteor crash." Jack kept a calm face. "What did you tell them?" "Nothing. Just said I didn't see anything. But they've been poking around near the forest." Jack nodded, paid for the groceries, and left. The two men were still outside. One of them slowly raised a phone and snapped a picture of Jack's truck as he drove away. Back at the cabin, Jack drove fast through the forest road. When he reached his cabin, he rushed inside. Nova was sitting on the floor, building something from old tools and wires. Max lay beside her. Jack locked the door and pulled the curtain shut. "We have a problem," he said. Nova looked up. "There are people looking for you." Nova lowered her head. She said nothing. Jack sat beside her. "Are they dangerous?" She slowly nodded. "They want to take you?" he asked. "No," she whispered. "They want to erase me." Jack didn't like that word. "Why? What did you do?" "I was born," she said softly. Jack didn't understand. But the sadness in her voice, it hurt to hear. The hiding place. That night, Jack moved Nova to an old storm shelter beneath the cabin floor. It was small, dusty, and filled with tools and boxes, but safe. "If anything happens," Jack told her, "go down here and stay quiet." She looked at him with wide, glowing eyes. "You protect." He nodded. "I'll protect." She smiled. Just a little. The first smile Jack had seen. The forest visitor. The next day, Jack heard something outside. A soft click, like a camera. He grabbed his rifle and stepped onto the porch. Nothing. Then movement in the trees. He walked slowly, quietly. Max followed. And then he saw it. A small black drone, shaped like a spider, crawling along a tree branch. It had a red blinking eye and long metal legs. Turned and looked at him. Jack raised his rifle and fired. Crack. The drone exploded, sparks flying through the leaves. He picked up the broken pieces. No label. No wires he could understand. Definitely not human-made. Jack returned to the cabin, face pale. Nova was waiting near the window. "They found me," she said quietly. "Who are they?" Jack asked. "What do they want?" She took a deep breath. "They are called Shadrax. They took my world, my family, my name." Jack knelt beside her. "What do you mean, your name?" Nova looked up, eyes glowing. "I am not just a child," she said. "I am last of the royal blood. My name is Nvalari Solare, daughter of the High Star." Jack stared. "You're a princess?" Nova nodded. "But if they find me, I die, and my people stay lost forever." The warning. That night, as Jack and Nova ate by candlelight, the power in the cabin shut off. Everything went black. Nova's eyes lit up in the dark. "Too late," she whispered. Outside, footsteps crunched on dry leaves. Max growled. Jack grabbed his rifle. "Go to the shelter. Now." Nova ran below. Jack closed the trapdoor just as the front window shattered. A black-coated figure stepped inside, holding a glowing weapon. "You have something that doesn't belong here," the man said calmly. Jack didn't answer. He aimed and fired. The smell of smoke still hung in the cabin. The broken window had been covered with wooden boards, but the wind slipped through the cracks. Jack Carter sat in the corner, holding his rifle close, staring at the trapdoor in the floor, the one that led to the shelter where Nova now slept. She hadn't said much since the night the man in black tried to take her. Jack had fired first. The stranger vanished into the trees, leaving behind only scorched footprints and a piece of strange metal. Human or not, whoever he was, he would return. Jack was sure of it. He didn't sleep. He didn't eat much, but he watched over her, the same way he had once watched over his younger brother before the war. At sunrise, Nova came out of the shelter. Her hair looked darker today, like the sky before a storm. Her skin shimmered faintly in the light. She walked without sound, like she belonged to the forest. She sat across from Jack and looked at the small fire he had made. He broke the silence first. "You're not just a girl." Nova looked up slowly. "You're not just from space. You were someone important." She nodded, but her face stayed still, like stone carved with sadness. "My name is Nvalari. It means light in the storm. My mother was Queen of Solare. My father, the Warden of the Core Stars. They ruled the brightest system in our galaxy." She paused, as if remembering something warm that now hurt. "There was peace, until the Shadraks came." Her voice grew quiet, almost fading with the wind. "They came without warning. Ships like black knives cut the sky. They took our capital. Our armies, they vanished. My parents sent me away. I didn't want to go, but they made me. They said I was the last key." Jack tried to understand. "Key to what?" "To hope," she whispered. Her hands were shaking. Jack moved closer and placed a blanket over her shoulders. She didn't flinch. In fact, for the first time, she leaned slightly against him. "They are still looking for you," Jack said. "They always will," Nova replied. "If they find me, they erase my bloodline. If they don't, one day, the stars might rise again." Jack didn't care about kings or queens, but he cared about her. He had seen the way she looked at the fire, the way she cried when no one watched. She might have been a princess, but she was also just a child. Lost, scared, hunted, and Earth was not ready for any of this. Later that day, Nova walked deep into the trees with Jack. She said she needed to show him something. They reached the crash site, now covered in ash and burned leaves. The pod was still there, broken and cold. But inside, she pulled out a hidden compartment Jack had never seen. From it, she took a small orb. It glowed softly in her hands. "This holds my memory," she said. "Not just mine, my people's code, history, map, bloodline. It is what they want." Jack looked at the orb, stunned. "It's all inside that?" Nova nodded. "And now it's dying." She closed her eyes and the orb responded. It began to spin, glowing brighter, almost singing in a soft voice. A language he couldn't understand but felt deep inside. A flash of light showed a woman's face, tall, golden, wearing a crown made of starlight. Nova reached out and whispered, "Mother!" Then it was gone. She fell to her knees. Jack ran to her. "Nova, I'm okay," she said, breathing hard. "But it's harder each time. My powers, they're fading." Jack helped her up and looked around the woods. The silence felt heavier now. "They know you're using it, don't they?" She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Back at the cabin, Jack placed the orb in a lead toolbox and buried it under the floor. Nova rested quietly, drawing strange symbols in a notebook Jack had given her. Some looked like stars. Some looked like weapons. Night fell. The stars above were brighter than usual. Jack stepped outside, breathing the cold air. In the sky, far above, one star moved against the others. Slowly, then disappeared. He clenched his jaw. They were getting closer. He went back inside. Nova was asleep, her hand still holding the pencil. Jack pulled the blanket over her. "You're not alone," he whispered. "Not anymore." Outside, the wind picked up, and far beyond Earth's orbit, a black ship turned its engines toward a small blue planet. The hunt was not over. Rain tapped on the cabin roof like quiet footsteps. Jack stood by the window, watching the forest disappear behind thick fog. His coffee had gone cold. His hands felt heavier than usual. He hadn't heard birds all morning. Not one. Nova hadn't spoken since the vision. The night before, she had dreamt in her sleep, loud, gasping sounds. Strange symbols had burned into the wood around her bed. Jack found her shaking, whispering names that didn't belong to Earth. He didn't ask what they meant. She wouldn't have answered. Now she sat cross-legged on the cabin floor, staring at the orb Jack had dug up again. Her fingers hovered above it, not touching. But the orb floated, spinning slowly on its own. A soft humming sound filled the room, rising and falling like a heartbeat. Jack finally spoke. "You said the orb is dying." Nova nodded. "But it's still doing something. What is it?" "It remembers," she said softly. "It wants to be heard." "Heard by who?" Nova didn't blink. "Anyone left." Jack stepped back. "Anyone? You mean, out there?" She nodded once. "A signal. It's looking for life. For help. For home." Jack didn't like that. What if the wrong ones hear it? Nova looked at him. "They already have." The orb pulsed, and then it spoke. A burst of light exploded across the room. A spinning star map appeared in midair, rotating slowly. Strange alien text circled the image. A soft female voice echoed from it. Not human, not robotic. The language was ancient, but somehow, Jack understood the feeling behind the words. It was a distress call, a royal signal, a beacon, and it had just been reactivated. "No," Jack said, stepping forward. "Turn it off. Shut it down. Someone will trace that." Nova's eyes glowed brighter. Her voice changed, deeper, older, like someone else was speaking through her. "I am Solare's flame. I return with the key. I rise with the broken sun." "Nova!" Jack shouted. She gasped and collapsed. The orb fell to the floor with a dull thud and stopped glowing. Jack rushed to her side. She was breathing barely. He held her in his arms. Her skin flickered like a dying star. "What was that?" he whispered. Her lips trembled. "It found me." Jack's blood turned cold. The power went out. The lights dead. The radio crackled, then screamed with static. Outside, the wind stopped. The world went silent. Jack grabbed his rifle and stood by the door. He had never felt this kind of quiet. Not even in the deepest parts of the forest. This was unnatural silence. Then came a low hum, a vibration, deep in the ground. The kind you don't hear, but feel. He opened the cabin door. The sky was red. A perfect circle of clouds had formed above the forest, spinning slowly. Lightning flashed inside, but there was no thunder. In the middle of that circle, a single beam of white light shone down onto the trees. Something was coming through it. Jack slammed the door shut and locked it. He went to Nova, still on the floor, eyes half open. "What did you send?" he asked. "I didn't send," she whispered. "I woke it." Jack looked through the window. In the distance, trees were bending. Not from wind, from pressure. Like gravity had shifted. Something tall and thin moved at the edge of the forest. A shadow with glowing blue veins, not walking, gliding. Then more. Jack's fingers tightened around the rifle. Nova sat up slowly. "Not all who heard it are enemies," she said. "What does that mean?" "Some serve the old throne. Some hunt it. Both will come." Jack laughed under his breath. "Great. So we don't even know who's at the door." Nova looked at him with soft, serious eyes. "I trust you." Jack didn't answer. He stared at the storm outside. The stars were watching again. The silence was over, and Earth was no longer hidden. It began with light. A burning white column in the middle of the forest, cutting the sky like a sword. Jack Carter stood at the cabin door, rifle in hand, heart heavy in his chest. Behind him, Nova stood barefoot on the wooden floor, staring through the window. Her skin flickered with light again. Her hair lifted slightly, as if touched by an invisible wind. The forest was no longer silent. Something had stepped into their world. Trees cracked in the distance, not from falling, from bending, bowing, as if something too heavy, too large had entered their space. Then came the sound. Not a roar, not a screech, something deeper. A language. It didn't speak through sound. It spoke into the bones. Nova stepped outside before Jack could stop her. She moved slowly, eyes locked on the beam of light. "It's them," she said. "One of them is mine." Jack followed her. "You mean someone you know?" She didn't answer. Her eyes were glowing again, brighter than before. She wasn't afraid. That worried Jack more than anything. The wind picked up. Leaves swirled around them. The clouds above spun like a slow whirlpool. Shapes moved in the red light, tall, armored, inhuman silhouettes. 4 of them. 3 black, 1 gold. The black ones were like walking weapons, blades for arms, eyes like burning coal. The gold figure was different. Graceful. Quiet. They didn't speak. Not yet. Then Nova stepped forward. Her voice calm. Steady. Identify. The gold figure tilted its head. Then spoke. Not with a mouth but directly into their minds. Princess. Confirmed. Jack stumbled slightly. Did I just hear that in my head? Nova didn't blink. Yes. The gold one stepped closer. I am Syrian VA. Knight of the Crown Flame. Your last protector. Jack watched closely. Sirion didn't move like a soldier. He moved like something carved from light, controlled, smooth, timeless. Nova nodded once. And them? She asked, pointing to the black figures. Rogues, Sirion said. They followed your signal. Not to protect. To destroy. The air grew colder. The 3 black warriors raised their heads. Sharp light burned from their eyes. Sirion spoke again. I will hold them. Nova stepped back. You won't survive. I was not made to survive. I was made to serve. He turned his face toward Jack. Earthman, take her and run. Jack blinked. What? You want me to run from those things? Sirion turned toward the enemy. Yes. And then he vanished. No flash, no sound. Just gone. A heartbeat later, the forest exploded with movement. Jack grabbed Nova's hand and pulled her back toward the cabin. Behind them, energy cracked through the trees, gold light clashing with black. Sound bent around the battle. Trees caught fire without flame. The ground split. Inside the cabin, Jack slammed the door and dragged a shelf in front of it. He looked at Nova. That guy, he's one of your people? Last one I remember. He's not gonna win this alone. No, she said softly. He's going to buy time. Outside, the world shook again. Nova reached into her jacket and pulled out something small. A crystal shard, glowing pale blue, pulsed in her hand. This is not just a map, she said. It's a gate key. Jack frowned. To where? To where we belong. Your homeworld. She shook her head. No, that world is gone. I mean the place where my kind once stood. Before war. Before blood. She looked at him. I can't open it alone. I need a human heart to balance it. Jack stared at her. A what? It responds to loyalty. It needs someone who would die for someone else. Jack looked away, jaw tight. I didn't ask for this, he said. I know, Nova replied. He looked back at her. But I'm still here. She held out the shard. He touched it. The room changed instantly. Stars exploded in his mind. Spinning galaxies. Old voices. Lost names. A hallway of light stretched across space. Not a tunnel, not a door, a choice. Then it was gone. The shard had accepted him. Nova smiled, small but real. We can leave. Jack didn't move. And if we stay? Nova looked toward the door. The light from the battle had turned black. If we stay, the war comes to Earth. And it won't stop here. Outside, a shadow fell across the forest. Sirion was gone. Only one of the black warriors still stood. It turned its head toward the cabin, eyes burning white, and began to walk. The forest was burning. Not with fire but with light. Dark, heavy clouds circled the sky above Jack Carter's cabin. Trees shook as if crying out. Wind howled like a voice from another world. The last of the black warriors moved closer with every step, each footfall cracking the ground beneath it. Not running, not rushing, just walking forward like death that already knows its target. Jack and Nova stood inside the cabin. The air crackled around them. The crystal shard pulsed in Nova's hand, glowing stronger now that Jack had touched it. It had accepted him. But there was no joy in her eyes. This was the moment. Nova, Jack said, trying to stay calm. If we open that gate, where does it take us? She stared at him for a long second. Not Earth, not space, she said. To a place hidden between stars. My ancestors built it as a last hope. A sanctuary. But it's broken. Lost. Then why go there? Jack asked. Because I can fix it. And if I do, the throne returns. My people rise. The war changes. And if you fail, I die. Jack lowered his voice. There's gotta be another way. Nova walked to the window. Her reflection in the glass didn't look like a child anymore. Her face carried something ancient, quiet strength and buried pain. She turned back to Jack. You saved me when I was nothing. No name, no home. You gave me both. But I can't stay here forever. He looked down. His fingers curled into fists. You're just a kid. Nova shook her head slowly. I'm the last memory of a forgotten galaxy. I'm not supposed to hide anymore. A loud crack shook the cabin. The Black Warrior had reached the front yard. It raised its arm, and the metal glowed like molten lava. Time's up, Jack said. Nova stepped forward. I'll draw it away. You open the gate. He grabbed her arm. No, we go together. Her voice dropped to a whisper. If I go through first, the gate stays open. If I don't, it closes forever. Jack's throat tightened. I'm not letting you go alone. You won't, she said. You'll follow. I believe that. The cabin door blew open. With splinters flew like knives. The Black Warrior stepped in, tall as a tree with eyes of lightning. His body was not armor. It was a weapon. It raised its blade arm toward Nova. Jack fired. The bullet melted in midair before it reached. The warrior turned to Jack. Nova moved fast. A streak of starlight across the room. She raised the crystal and spoke one word. Soviel. The air cracked. A tear opened in reality. A glowing ring of shifting stars, floating behind her like a doorway into light and wind and memory. It was not beautiful. It was terrifying. Too real to understand. Nova turned to Jack one last time. You made me more than a weapon, she said. You made me feel human. Then she ran into the gate. The Black Warrior screamed. A sound that made windows shatter. It leaped after her, but Jack didn't let it. He threw himself at it with everything he had. No plan, no chance, just instinct. He tackled the thing sideways. His shoulder burned as metal sliced into it. But it stumbled. That was enough. The gate flared brighter. Nova's voice echoed from inside. Jack, come now. The warrior grabbed him by the throat, raised him in the air. Jack reached for the crystal still glowing in his pocket. He squeezed it. The gate flashed and pulled. The warrior lost its grip. Jack fell backward into the light and vanished. Silence returned to the forest. The cabin stood empty. No bodies, no blood, just wind. And somewhere, far beyond space, in a realm between stars, a child who was once a nobody stood on a glass platform, surrounded by ancient machines and sleeping cities of light. She looked at Jack, now beside her, breathing hard, wide-eyed. This is where it begins again, she said. Jack looked out over the horizon of a forgotten empire. Then let's build it right this time. Nova stepped forward, her eyes glowing with more than power. They held purpose. The lost star had risen, and she would not be hidden anymore.